Hey, I'm Banana Coconut Bird, and in today's video, we will be painting D&D minis with acrylic paints. Painting minis with acrylic paints can be somewhat of a taboo when it comes to the mini painting circles who prefer like Games Workshop paints and everything. But I believe you can get really good paint jobs, and sometimes even better paint jobs with acrylic paints over mini paints. This is an Enton that I painted a while back with only acrylic paints. I even painted the base since it was an ugly blue color, the whole thing. And this is the paint job that I got with layers of acrylic paints, and not even like any model paint washes or anything, just only acrylic paints. And yeah, so that's that guy. I also painted an adult black dragon with acrylic paints and got a pretty good view on him. Let's see if we can... Pretty good paint job on this guy. I really like this one. This is my favorite. This is my first ever dragon miniature that I've gotten, and I painted it. I painted this miniature according to the Monster Manual book art, which gives the black dragon almost like a teal, dark greenish color, almost like a near black, but it's like teal green. And so I tried to get that effect on there, like doing like different bluish greenishes, and then doing the black wash over it. And I got a really good. It came out really nice and really well. And so this is one of my favorite miniatures, and it's also my first dragon mini that I have ever owned. So this guy's got some nice little nostalgia behind him. Alright, but in today's video, we will be painting this fire elemental that comes from the Temple of Elemental Evil board game that was put out by Wizards of the Coast. If you didn't know, Wizards of the Coast is the company that makes Dungeons and Dragons content. And so we're going to be painting this guy. First things first, we're gonna grab whatever paintbrush you have, whatever cheap acrylic craft paints you have. We're gonna be using like a white satin, a yellow, and a red. If you have an orange, you could also use that, but I'm just gonna mix the yellow and the red in order to get the orange for the different steps. But we're gonna be starting out, and I already have my paints out here with just a little bit of white, and we're gonna be just getting loading the brush full of paint, but we're going to be wiping it off and making almost a little puddle on the paper towel here. And once that's all done, we're going to just go lightly over the whole thing. Let's see if we can get it to focus. It's not focusing, but I mean, I'll show you guys when it's done. So here's the mini with here, let's try to. Here's the mini with its first coat of white. This like not really covering the whole mini, but almost like it's a dry brush is what its actual name is, and that is when you get only a little bit paint on the brush and you go really quickly over the whole thing, giving it highlights. I like doing multiple thicker and thicker dry brushes when I'm giving the first coat of white to my minis before I start painting them. You could also just jump right in with the first color of yellow and cover it, but I think it'll look better if it's fully white, because yellow is a slightly transparent color, and it would probably make the mini look either like a darker yellow or almost a green because the miniature is blue. I'm gonna continue putting on these layers, and I'll see you again after the whole thing's done. Here's the second layer of white. It's almost entirely covered with white now. There's still a lot of deep and darker spots that still have the blue, which I'm gonna go get with this next and final almost dry brush. But this time I'm focusing and dabbing into the mini with my brush and trying to get into all those crevices in order to get all those dark spots out. But right now, yeah, that's about it. If you want to do this, make sure when you get your brush, you want to load it up fully with paint, but then start making a little puddle of paint and wiping it almost all, like not too much off, but you want enough off of it so that when you're not slathering it with a lot of wet paint, because this painted it like a minute ago, and it's already almost completely dry. There's a little bit that's still wet, but not a lot because you're doing such thin coats, and it will dry. Especially when you have a hot light like really close to you. Like mine is like I have a light like right up here that's like really close, and it's hot, and the heat will help it dry faster. If you want to help it dry faster as well, though, you could get a hair dryer and blow it off while it's drying. But now I'm going to do the final one, and then I'll come back, and then we'll put on the first layer of yellow. At this point, it just looks like a snow monster, and it doesn't look like it's burning in flames, and it's a flaming monster coming to burn you and your friends. But, I mean, we can fix that. The next step will be a quick washing with a brush. I have a small cup over here with water in it, and I'm just going to wash in there. Oh, and I messed up my light. Give me a second. There we go. It's one of those touch lights that change it, that dims or darkens when you touch it. So I had to reset that because I accidentally bumped into it. So you want to wash off your brush a little bit, and then what you want to do is get some of your yellow acrylic paints, put it on either a paper plate or whatever, or a painting palette if you have one. I recommend a paper plate so you can just have it on the table while you're painting your miniatures. You don't want a paint palette while you're painting miniatures because you don't want to be holding that forever when you're doing all this. I'm actually going to switch brushes now and go to this brush. This brush is just a slightly thicker brush. This one's more flat, good for dry brushing. This one's going to be good for putting on for putting on more thin but still covering the whole model layers of paint. And so I'm going to be loading up the brush a little bit, and the same as last time, I'm going to be starting a little puddle, pretty much, on the paper towel, so that I can, because I still don't want it to be super thick, but I still want more, so you just want a lot of area on there, so where you can just have more paint, fill the whole brush, and then go haywire. And you want to cover the whole thing, kind of like you did with the white. There's the first pass of yellow on this thing. You can see how here, if I put on some yellow paint onto here, you can see how it's like almost a mustard, almost greenish when you put it on, even with a full coat. But on here, where we painted white, it's a nice vibrant yellow. And also, don't be scared to get your hands covered in paint, because when your hands are getting dirty, you know you're having fun. But this is the mini so far. I'm going to continue adding more layers of yellow just so I can get rid of all the low dark spots. You can see all these different dark spots on the mini from the blue. I'm going to leave the eyes dark because I can't really get into those, and I want the eyes dark, the eye and the mouth dark, because I think that'll look cool. Maybe do some dry brushing and highlights in there later on. But yeah, so that's the first layer of yellow, and I'm going to start applying the second. If you're running out of yellow like I am, you can just refill with your bottles of paint, make sure you shake them beforehand, because in acrylic paint, if you don't shake your paints for a while and don't mix them up, a weird liquid can rise to the surface and it's really disgusting and it gets everywhere. So now I'm going to add my second layer, or second application of the paint, and I hit my light, sorry about that. And just getting more paint on the paintbrush, applying more to the puddle, and now I'm going to go back in. This one I'm going for more coverage instead of just a dry brush, basic dry brush. So I'll see you guys when this is finished. Here's a good example of what not to do. I applied a lot of paint to the face to get into those crevices, and some of the eyes are filled, so what I'm going to do is grab a tiny little piece of paper towel and then dab some of the face with it. Just so I can get out some of those areas with the deep recesses that I wanted to keep dark and not filled in. So see, there, now I got the paint out of the eyes. And I think up there is done, so I'm just going to keep going around in different areas with the different paints. Alright, and the final layer of yellow paint has been applied. I think I'm gonna let the mini sit for a little while, and people say, I think I've heard people say watched paint doesn't dry, but I'm gonna force you guys to watch a time lapse of this paint drying while I go get a drink. Alright, I'm back, and I don't think the paint is fully dry yet, so... good quality H2O. Always remember to drink, kids, because it's important. Eating is optional, but drinking isn't. I think what I'm going to do to help this dry faster is to bring down my light and just have it shine on it, like, straight from above. It's really hot. This light can get really hot. So, and I dropped a paintbrush there. This light can get really, really hot, and the heat will help the paint dry faster. So I'm gonna just have that down there, and I'm just gonna leave this to dry. It already seems pretty dry right now, but I'm gonna let it dry some more because dry brushing on a still wet surface can mess up some of the paint. So that's not good. I'm just gonna be washing my brush for now while I wait. Almost let the time lapse do this part of it drying, but I mean, while we're here, I might as well showcase some of the other minis that I've painted, and just show you guys again the minis that I painted with the acrylic paints. But first, I'm gonna finish drying off this brush. Oh no! All right, so first up, I'm gonna showcase the Etten that I got. Here, I'm gonna just angle the light a bit better. Sorry about the flashing lights there, guys. So here's the Etten that I painted. So what I did with this one was I got a darker, that Caucasian skin tone, but a little bit darker skin tone on this guy. This guy has a lot of cuts and things on it. So what I first did was and there's the air conditioning thing turning on. Sorry about that, guys. But what I did was I did lighter, well, still a dark brown, but not like almost a mid-dark brown for the loincloth and all the things around his waist. But then a darker brown for the hair on the top, and same thing for the weapons and things on there. For the skin tone, I did the base skin tone, which was like almost a mid skin tone, I'd say, and then a wash with a really dark red, and then brown, and that was over the whole entire miniature. So it gave it this really nice world weathered look, and I think it looks pretty good. Next up I have these three bugbears that are also from the Temple of Elemental Evil. Actually, all the miniatures I've shown you were from the Temple of Elemental Evil board game. I'm slowly making my way through painting all the different miniatures, and so I painted these trio of bugbears recently. And hold on, let me get the camera to focus. And since they're all the same sculpt, I had to differentiate them, so I made one red, one blue, and one green, so that I can differentiate them when they're on the board in my game. So there's this guy. Here's the next guy. This one was similar to the way I did the Etten, but I did white first, and then I did a light tan, almost brown, a light tan, mid-dark brown first, and then over the whole thing, and then I went in with almost like a tan gray, and then I dry brushed that over all the fur colors. Then I went in with just a gray on the weapons and the weapon pieces and the armor pieces, like the little, I don't even know what we'd call this weapon. If you know what weapon this is, or what it would be called besides a mace, leave it in the comments. But I mean, for the weapons, I did gray on all of it, and then I did a wash of brown over the whole mini. For the loincloths, I just did a solid red, blue, and green on it. In fact, I used the same red that I'm going to be using on this miniature for the red on the loincloth. And then here's the blue mini. I don't think I've shown him yet, but here's that. Other models I've painted are actually, here, let me grab them. I'll grab some of them. I bought the Reaper Bones Goblin 4-pack, and then these are my 3 favorites. I bought 2 of the packs, and I painted all 8 of them. Here's one of my all-time favorites. I like this guy because he got a little bandage eye patch over his eye. I did mostly dry brushes on this guy, but there's this little spearman. Then we got the archer next. Got his tongue sticking out here. Let's see if we can. Guy. And then we got the sword and spearman. I know the canon color for the goblins in D&D is like a yellow tannish, but I like painting all of mine with the green because, I mean, most of my players are new players who haven't really read or seen the monster manual or the player's handbook or anything, and they mostly learn the rules from what I tell them. Some of them have read the player's handbook, but not all of them. And I decided just so it would be more recognizable as goblins, I painted them green because everyone knows that little green goblins running around. And I think at this point, the model's mostly dry. So I'm going to clear all the miniatures out of the way as we continue our work. Alright, you want to get that flat brush again from what we did when we were first doing the white. Maybe just break in the bristles a bit, get them nice and smooth out. Then we want to go in, and if you have an orange, that would be good, or you can mix a red and a yellow, like I am. So that's what I'm doing here. And for dry brushes, we're going to not do it, we're going to do a decently heavy dry brush, but we're still gonna get it, wipe a lot of it off to where it's like that, maybe even a bit more, and then slather the whole thing. I'm gonna keep the light low on it still, because it's still needing to dry. Here's what I was talking about, dry brush and undry paint. I'm really impatient, but as you can see, there's some like black, like almost the dark blue showing through from under the paint. I'm gonna fix that with the next dry brush, but I'm gonna wait a little while longer before I do the last dry brush, because some of these some of the areas of this guy aren't fully dry yet. I'm gonna grab a little bit more orange. When I'm doing this, I'm doing heavier on the dry brushing near the top of the mini and near the hands of the mini, because I think those are the places where the fire is going to be the hottest, and I want it to just have a little bit more contrast than the lighter parts. So I'm going to heavily dry brush these guys. The mini doesn't look like much right now, but when we add the final layer of the red, it'll make the whole thing just pop. I did, here, now I'm going to let this dry again. Before recording the video, I did a quick pass, I did a quick paint job on these fire bats just to make sure the method I do works well, and I really love the way that these turned out. You can see, like, it looks like fire. I mean, it's not glowing, but you can see that you can tell that it's fire by just looking at it, that it's supposed to be fire. And I think that's a success, and oh, I just bumped into my whole setup there. I'm really sorry for that little earthquake. And I keep bumping into things. There we go. I think I could do a little bit more dry brushing. Actually, I'm going to do a slightly darker orange. Actually, not my dark red yet, but I'm going to do a slightly darker orange as well. I want a bit more contrast. I didn't do that on these guys, but I still want a bit more contrast on this guy, so you can better see it. I don't know how well you can see the dry brushes on camera, on video. So I'm gonna just do one more. So there's that. Oh yeah, now you can see it a whole lot better on video. I have this little area in here, and I don't know what to do with that. It looks like it would be it's the center of the monster, and it would be wherever the thing is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do here. Let me do a little thing. I'm going to add a little bit of gold, a small dry brush of gold in there. There we go. Put that out. There. Just to add a bit more interest and interesting stuff in there while I've let the rest of the mini dry. There we go. A bit more. Oh, wasn't fully dry, so the wet paint is activating the paint and spreading it around. I think I'll just do gold in there and then re-dry brush it again when it's done, just to get into there. But for now, I'm going to let it sit and dry, and I'll come back to you guys when it's done. And me being impatient, I'm going to see if it's ready for the last dry brush of the dark red. So, I'm just going to get not a whole lot of, load the brush, but then just wipe as much of it as away. I just want it like only a little bit. And now we're gonna go. And with that, I think we could call this fire elemental done. I decided not to do gold on the inside in that little area and just fill it with more of the red, and I think that looks really cool. The red on the hands make it look almost bloody, but you know, it's just the darker fire of it. And I just, hold on a second, there we go. Just adding a little bit more here and there. You could fiddle with a miniature for hours and hours, even days and months, and still not think it perfect. So you just have to find a good stopping point and not be like I am here, where I'm still painting and when I'm saying that it's done. But yeah, that's that. I think it turned out really well. I think the fire technique that I do from going from light to dark, dry brushing from light to dark, worked really well, and I'm excited to use this in whatever D&D game next I can do. And with that, I'd like to thank you for watching. If you want to, you can like, comment, and subscribe. And comment in the comments below and tell me what miniature you would like me to paint next. You can ask me, or tell me whatever you want me to paint, or just what colors you want me to paint something, or if you have something that you want me to make, or any ideas for any future videos if you want me to. I'm Banana Coconut Bird, or you can call me Nathan, and I thank you for watching, and remember, everyone can be creative.